In a small town nestled between green hills and golden fields, there lived a young boy named Eli. He was 10 years old, full of wonder, and had the kind of curiosity that made even the simplest things, like watching raindrops slide down a window, seem like magic. Eli lived with his mother, who worked at the town's bakery, and his grandfather, who told stories that made the past feel alive. His father had gone to work in a faraway city, promising to return when he had earned enough money to build their dream house. Every night before bed, Eli looked at the stars and imagined his father looking at the same sky, far away. Every morning, Eli would race to the river that ran behind their small cottage. The river was his favorite place in the world. He called it the Talking River because if you listened closely, it whispered secrets in its bubbling voice. Sometimes he would float sticks down its current and imagine they were ships sailing to unknown lands. At school, Eli wasn't the best at math or reading, but when it came to storytelling, no one could match him. His teacher often said, "Eli, you don't just tell a story, you paint it." That made him blush, but deep down, he dreamed of one day writing a book full of the tales that lived in his mind. One summer evening, dark clouds gathered over the town. Thunder rolled across the hills, and the wind howled like a wild beast. Eli's mother hurried to bring in the laundry, while his grandfather closed the shutters. The storm raged through the night, tearing branches and flooding the riverbanks. The next morning, Eli ran to the river, but it wasn't the same. The water was brown and angry, and his favorite tree by the riverbank had fallen. For the first time, Eli felt a strange heaviness in his chest. He realized that even beautiful things could change, and sometimes they didn't come back the way they were before. A few weeks later, a letter arrived. It was from Eli's father. He wrote that work in the city had become hard, and it would take longer than he'd hoped before he could return. Eli's mother tried to smile as she read it aloud, but Eli saw the worry in her eyes. That night, Eli sat by his window, the moonlight spilling across his notebook. He wrote his father a letter, one full of stories about home, the river, and the tree that had fallen. At the end, he wrote, "No matter how long it takes, I'll keep the river waiting for you." Years passed. Eli grew taller, his voice deepened, and his eyes began to see the world differently. The games by the river turned into long walks where he thought about life, dreams, and the people he missed. He still told stories, only now he wrote them down. When Eli turned 16, he got a job helping his mother at the bakery. He'd wake up before sunrise, knead dough, and watch as the town came alive. He realized how much his mother had sacrificed for him and how much love was hidden in her quiet strength. One evening, after closing the bakery, Eli saw an old man waiting by the door. It was his father, older, thinner, but smiling with the same warmth. He had finally come home. Eli didn't run to him like a child this time. Instead, he walked slowly, tears in his eyes, and said, "You made it back." His father nodded, hugging him tightly. "And you grew into someone I'm proud of." Years later, Eli became a writer. His first book was called The Talking River, inspired by his childhood adventures. It was dedicated to his mother, his grandfather, and his father, for teaching me that life flows like a river, always moving, always changing, but always finding its way home. Whenever he visited his old town, Eli would sit by the river, listening to its whisper. And sometimes, if the wind was right, he could almost hear a young boy's laughter in the distance, free, wild, and full of wonder.